Hey guys, welcome to TCR. Sid here. Thanks for clicking on the video. As you can see, it is very hazy today. It is not overcast. This is all smoke in the air. Hey guys, welcome to TCR. Sid here. Thanks for clicking on the video. If you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Are we done here? What's going on with these fires? So living out in the mountains in California here, we get a lot of wildfires. We have a whole season dedicated to it, as a matter of fact. It's basically from August through October, and it's just a high fire season, high fire risk. We're usually dry. We haven't had rain in a couple of months. And there's a lot of brush and uncleared open areas that can ignite over the drop of a hat. And it's unfortunate because, you know, a lot of people lose their lives, homes, a lot of animals get displaced, both wild and domesticated. And it's a tricky situation to be in, but it's something that we can prepare for as best we can. That's one of those situations where, you know, we're prepared to kind of get out of Dodge, to evacuate if we need to. Now, luckily for us, in this situation, this particular fire that is raging right now, the Valley Fire, which is actually about roughly 20 miles from where we are right now as the crow flies. So it basically just has to hop a hill, and it's, you know, it's in our town's backyard. So everybody's definitely been, the community's been talking about it. You know, people that have extra horse trailers and stuff have been going into the flames and getting horses, transporting them, getting them to safe areas. We are lucky because, as annoying as it is sometimes, because we are right in the flight path of our local airport in our little town here, we are a hub for CalFire, which means that this whole area, if the creek were to catch on fire right now, because it is a dry creek during the off season, if it were to catch on fire right now, they would be on top of that, like, and it's happened before. A couple years ago it happened, and this whole backside of the creek going this way was on fire, and they got it out lickety split because they need this flight path open and unhindered as much as possible. And then if that goes up, the airport goes up, and then it's game over. So we are lucky because of where we are located on the creek, that we are a little safer than some, just because they need this airspace, if for no other reason than that. But it does make us a little bit luckier. That being said, you know, a lot of our neighbors that live in different areas, even of this town, have had to pack up and evacuate in previous fires, and, you know, have to kind of have a go plan, because there's certain things that, you know, maybe you don't think about. You know, if you keep large animals like horses, or, you know, goats or anything like that, you know, not the kind of animal that you could just, like, you know, throw in your Prius and go, right? Although chances are, if you have a horse and a goat, you probably don't drive a Prius. But anyway, little tricks like taking a Sharpie and writing your phone number on their hooves, on their collars, on their skin, things like that, that other people know to look for when they find animals that have just been released. That way you have a better chance of getting reconnected with your animal later on, you know, writing your phone number, writing your name. So whenever there's a fire threat that's near like that, doing that with your animals is always a good thing. Making sure that you have your important documents that you need ready to go, any important papers that you have, insurance information, all of that kind of stuff that you want to make sure that you have with you. If you are actually evacuating, you know, depending on how much time you have to bug out, you know, sometimes these things spring up quickly, sometimes you know, a little bit before they're already, you know, evacuating an area. You know, things like shutting off your gas and things like that, you know, we don't always think about, but having that stuff ready to be done, or, you know, done when you're evacuating, is always a good idea. Making sure you have some cash on hand with you, and some whatever animals you are planning to transport yourself off your property, have a plan. Whether you have a friend that's got a trailer, if you've got, for me, like I have a lot of birds, I have my big crates that I would be loading them into onto the flatbed trailer behind the truck. I could fit a lot in there, a lot of animals, pretty well if I needed to for at least a short-term period of time. So having that plan of, okay, what am I going to do if that happens is important. Figure out what you're going to do with your animals, and not just with your animals, but making sure that if you have enough time to leave quickly, if you're given enough warning for evac, grabbing some animal food to take with you. A lot of people forget that. We've had a lot of people in the community saying, oh my God, I have nothing to feed my animals. I got them out, but I didn't think to grab any food. So making sure that you've got your important papers, some water with you, some food for your animals, a plan for your animals, whether it's, I can't transport them, I'm going to let them out, let them loose, tagging them some way so that afterwards people are able to get their animals back. The Sharpie trick is a great one. People do that with horses the most, I think. Have a plan, and a lot of that's going to depend on, where you are, how far from town, what are your resources like. You kind of have to customize it a little bit, but it's definitely something to think about. And this year's fire season, knock on wood, we've been lucky. It hasn't been too bad in our immediate area. As I mentioned, you can hear the planes right now, the fire planes. As I mentioned, because we are where we are, close to the airport that is the fire hub for CalFire, we are a little bit safer than most, but a fire can creep up fast, and those are really here in the area we are. We get floods and we get fires. Never at the same time, wouldn't that be convenient? But we do get them. So it's something to think about. If you live in an area like that, it can be very scary, and a lot of people end up kind of throwing in the towel, relocating, not getting animals again, because it becomes very overwhelming. It's a very hard thing to go through. And I've never personally lost a home. I've been very close to several wildfires over the years growing up in Southern California. We've had some bad ones, and some of them were very close to home. I luckily, knock on wood, I was always very lucky where I was. I was on a evacuation watch list one time, and I was ready to pack up and go. I couldn't, the roads were closed, so I actually couldn't go into work for 2 days because I couldn't get from where I was to the city. And the firefighters are doing an amazing job. We had a story the other day between the military and the fire crews that were out there and the helicopters. They ended up evacuating safely. They flew in and landed under terrible conditions, and they evacuated, I believe it was like 214 or 217, I can't quite remember the number, people that would have perished because of where they ended up getting stuck and surrounded by the fire. So kudos to them. Big shout out to our California Fire Department and the military that's lending assistance as well. They're doing a phenomenal job. We had a little bit of Santa Ana wind scare in the area, and luckily the wind didn't shift too much, so it didn't jump the fire line, which was great. Everybody was worried about that last night, and luckily the temperatures dropped a bit yesterday and today. That's helped. We actually even had a little bit of morning mist yesterday mornings. The day that the fire started, we were at 115. I would never want to throw in the towel. I would never say, we're done, that's it. I can't go through that anymore. Every place has something like that. People in the Midwest and, have their tornado watches, and people on the southeast coast and eastern seaboard, they get the hurricane watches, and in Texas, so there's always going to be something. And we get California earthquakes here, but again, knock on wood, we haven't had a bad one in a while. I may have just jinxed us. If the camera starts shaking, you'll know. But yeah, I mean, you've got to be prepared, not only for situations where you're going to be indoors, like we have been for so very long across the country, but you have to be prepared for situations where you do have to jam out. And now, obviously, this video, I'm not getting into all those details with you. This was more of just a quick kind of going over sort of what's happening right now in our community, and just mentioning a few little things to think about. We've had a lot of people reaching out, a lot of our comments the last few days, people asking, you know, I know you guys aren't that far from the fire, how you doing, you okay? And I appreciate you guys reaching out and asking us. It means a lot. Luckily, like I said, this time we are good right now. And they're doing their best to get it really contained today. So hopefully, you know, that trend will continue, and we'll get through this fire season unscathed yet again. So here's hoping. But thank you guys, those of you that have, you know, left comments and reached out. I appreciate it. Fire is one of those weird ones that they can't predict. They know, like, oh, we're in fire season, the temperatures are right, the brush is there, but it's not like they can say when or where it's going to strike like they can more with a hurricane or a tornado or, you know, weather stuff. Here, between the earthquakes and the fires, those are so just a crapshoot. There's no warning system in place for that. It's just, you know, it happens when it happens. There's no tracking device for it other than, yeah, it's hot outside and there's a lot of brush outside. Other than that, you're kind of on your own. Luckily right now, as you can see, it's not super windy. The winds, they were predicting like 50-mile-an-hour winds, and apparently it got bad in some areas overnight, but right now it's relatively calm. So hopefully that trend continues. But big shout out to our California Fire Department and to our local military that is helping out with a lot of that, and all of the volunteers that are helping with animals and displaced people, and getting that kind of under control for people that are in those areas. You know, it's tremendous. We are hanging in there. We are fine. There is no immediate fire danger here where we are. I will not be packing up the truck, although I always have my animal cages ready to go, ready to be loaded up, ready to throw them in the truck. But today, you know, today's just a less smoky day, thank goodness. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell so you get the notifications.